there, and welcome to Grimwit with Dimwits. I'm Blondie.
And I'm T.
And how are we doing this fine day, T?
Is it a fine day? Because I don't think I got the memo. It actually is a good day. I'm just messing with you. And yeah, things are going good. I'm settling into my new job. I've been there 4 months now. That went by really fast.
It did.
Yeah, it really did. And I'm getting ready to go on vacation in a couple of weeks. So more on that later. So yeah, life is good.
Yay, you. I know you're on vacation because you asked me to take you to airport.
That is your job as best friend.
I'm sorry, I didn't read it in the contract.
You're close to the airport, so you know what? That's what you get. How are things going with you?
They're going good. I've pretty much been beat up the last few days, but other than that, I've been doing good.
Well, I'm sure you deserved it.
And the sad part is, I think I'm the one that's doing the beating up.
You are. That's why you're getting absolutely no, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sympathy.
No sympathy from me. Thank you.
Empathy. Give a girl something.
Nothing.
So, I told you I had that dinner meeting thing last night.
Yeah.
At the house. And anytime you have stuff at the house, you got to spend a couple days cleaning the house. Anytime you have company coming over that's not the norm, you do a little extra.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of you should have parties at your house at least 3 times a year just so you deep clean.
My husband always says that when I deep clean and someone comes over, he's like, let's do this every week.
Tell him, okay, here's the mop and here's the broom.
That's right.
So I did the deep cleaning and I'm exhausted before they get here. Everybody enjoyed everything. Of course, then you have to clean up. So I woke up this morning and I looked at my rings on my watch to see the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday I did over 7,700 steps that equated to almost 3.5 miles. I never left my house. I don't live in a mansion. I don't live on a ranch or a farm or anything like that. I have pretty much average house. And I did almost 3.5 miles.
I don't believe you. I think you strapped it to your dog's collar.
Okay. Sad part is about that. I move more than my dogs do.
I think you're right. I know your dogs.
But the thing that really got me, I'm looking at the rings and the exercise ring says I exercised for 7 minutes. How is it that dusting and vacuuming and cleaning toilets is not considered exercise?
Not according to your watch, it's not. It's like, she lazy.
Somebody needs to make the activity rings, one for men and one for women, and include house cleaning. So anyway, that's why I feel like I've been beat up, but it's all good. Oh, and I lost 3 pounds, which I'm sure after these 3 days, they will find me again.
Yeah, especially since she lazy.
Right. Rude. What do we have this week? Anything exciting?
Well, I don't know if exciting is the word. I wanted to do this story because it really got to me. And, with all the stories we do and all the information we get, there's so much gore sometimes and, horrible things that people do. But this one, I'm telling you, it just really pulled on my heartstrings because it wasn't even just what happened. It was what happened after, with people coming together and saying how it affected them. It was just a really, really sad situation. So before I give it all away, let's just go ahead and start the story.
Okay. Should I get out some Kleenex?
I think you should. I'm hoping I can get through it without a little tear coming down and sniffles, because it's pretty sad.
Sounds heartbreaking and just in your little description.
I know, it really is.
Okay, I'm strapped in.
Okay, let's let the grim begin. It was the morning of Mother's Day, May 9th, 2021. Excited for the day and looking forward to being celebrated, Stacy Bailey went to wake up her youngest daughter, 13-year-old Tristyn. But as she entered Tristyn's bedroom, she was shocked to see that her daughter wasn't in her bed. After searching the house, now in a total panic, Stacy immediately called the police to report her precious child missing. Once word of Tristyn's disappearance got out to her neighbors, many took it upon themselves to scour the neighborhood and look for Tristyn. But even with the whole neighborhood helping out, 13-year-old Tristyn could not be found.
Oh.
I know. This is every parent's worst nightmare. And I've only had a scare like this when my daughter was 14 years old and she lied and she was somewhere that she wasn't supposed to be. And this is the first time she'd done it that I know of. And I couldn't find her for over 2 hours. So many horrible thoughts entered my brain. And let me tell you, I lost my mind with worry. And I'm pretty even keeled most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was out of my mind. So my heart absolutely breaks for what this poor mama is going through and went through.
And I remember that. You were terrified.
Horrified.
That's happened a few times with my daughter when she was out and late coming home and not answering her phone. That instant panic and worry just overtakes you until
Mm-hmm.
they get home, thankful that they made it home.
Of course. Yes. I mean, it's not even close to what's happening here, but I just understand that worry in such a small little amount compared to this mom.
Absolutely.
While investigating the disappearance, the police are alerted to a surveillance video, and at 1:24 a.m., they clearly see Tristyn walking calmly along the sidewalk with her friend from school, 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. Then another video from a resident shows them walking together at 1:45 a.m. Tristyn had been contacted that evening by Aiden Fucci, and then she snuck out of her house after midnight, thinking she would be hanging out with a big group of friends and having fun. She and Aiden went to a mutual friend's house and hung out for a while, and then they left together. Other than it being ridiculously late for a couple of very young teenagers to be strolling the neighborhood, it appeared very innocent.
That's very late for a couple of teens.
Yeah, nobody should be out at that hour. But then 2 hours later at 3:27 a.m., on video from a different camera, the police catch Fucci running very quickly on that same sidewalk. And for whatever reason, he's carrying his shoes. But this time, there's no Tristyn. The first thought might be that this thoughtful young man walked with his sweet younger friend home to make sure that she was going to be safe, right? I mean, that would have been my very first thought.
Right.
But no, her home was actually in the other direction. And unfortunately, this young man was not being thoughtful, nor was he anybody's sweet friend. Not even close.
And this is why you always want to kind of have an idea of who your children are hanging out with.
I agree, but the fact that she snuck out, I mean, the parents don't, how
True.
could they know?
I get it.
The police were able to easily identify Aiden Fucci, so they sent a police car to bring him in to question him and gather information to help find Tristyn. When they find Fucci, he's with his best friend, so the police have them both come along. But while these two Dumb and Dumber wannabes are sitting in the back of the squad car, they decide to do something very questionable. They start taking selfies to post on Snapchat, like they're having some kind of a crazy adventure. And they've already been told that Tristyn is missing and that the entire community is looking for her. So they caption their Snapchat post with, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristyn lately?" Then they begin videotaping themselves, and future scholar Aiden Fucci says, quote, "Hey, we're having fun in an effing cop car. Tristyn, if you just walk out the effing woods, trippin' dude," end quote. So I know these are young guys, but they're more than old enough to understand that this was a very serious situation. So seeing them laughing and being so insensitive was absolutely mind-boggling.
So much for being sweet. And why did he say walking out of the effing woods? I mean, I would have questioned that.
For sure, because he pretty much pointed them in the right direction with that remark, even though they probably didn't realize it at the time.
You're right. Future scholar in the making there.
Yep. While at the police station, Fucci's parents join their son and are videotaped having a conversation with him. His parents appear very concerned, and rightly so. In that video, you see his mom, Crystal Smith, tell him, "You know they found this girl, right?" And Fucci says, "Where?" Mom replies, "In our neighborhood, down our main street." With absolutely no emotional reaction, Fucci asks very nonchalantly, "Is she good?" Mom says, "No, she's dead. That's why this is very important. It's all on you right now." Her son looks down and then replies, "This ain't my problem." Now, right before this, Tristyn's body was discovered at 6:06 p.m. by a resident walking near the retention pond east of the Saddlestone Drive cul-de-sac, mutilated in the woods, just a half a mile from Fucci's home. And yes, it was right down his main street. So when I saw Fucci's demeanor speaking to the two people that gave him life in such a callous manner, I thought, damn, I've seen grown men, some of whom actually ended up being vicious serial killers, far more unnerved when being questioned about a murder than this stone cold kid.
It sounds like his parents realized the gravity of the situation. How did this kid get so far removed from reality?
It's a good question. You can see that his parents are trying to make it very clear to him that everything he says and does is extremely important right now. And while they're pouring their hearts out, trying to get this through to his head, I'm pretty sure they were aware they were being videotaped because they were choosing their words so carefully, like most parents would and should. But they're also telling him to be completely honest. The parents seem extremely tense, again, which is to be expected, in my opinion. But their child, Aiden Fucci, is cool, calm, and collected, and really just seems bored with the whole process.
So you said they're choosing their words very carefully. At this point, do you think they knew that he had something to do with this?
Just looking at the video and their conversation, they didn't do anything that would make me think they knew.
Okay.
But their mannerisms, at least with Mom, she seemed worried. So whether she was worried about her kid solely or worried that her kid might be capable of something, I don't know. But the mom did seem very worried.
That's a little unnerving.
Yeah, for sure. Then his dad, who's got his back to the camera, so you can't really see his dad's expression, but his body language is just kind of slumped. He seems defeated.
Mm-hmm.
So his dad tells him that the Snapchat that he posted, quote, wasn't a good move, end quote. And then Mom jumps in and says, quote, "Now we have people wanting to burn our house down and our cars because of that Snapchat," end quote. And again, Fucci has zero reaction to this terrifying news. So seeing Fucci with his parents was interesting. Fucci's parents are acting like typical parents who are very concerned. And yet their completely dead in the eyes 14-year-old son is acting like a hardened sociopath and a total douche, if you ask me.
I don't even know how to react. I mean, if that was my child, how do you react to that?
I would probably look at him and say, "Who are you right now?" There's not even any emotion when I told you about this girl, your friend, being found dead. No emotion whatsoever. That's not my problem, is your response.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, none of it is right because obviously he's guilty.
Makes you wonder how he got to be to that point.
Yeah. Following the interrogation, the police are allowed to search Fucci's room, and they immediately find crucial evidence. There were several articles of clothing with blood stains on them. Upon testing Fucci's clothing, the blood came back as, no surprise, Tristyn Bailey's. Shortly after, Fucci's knife was also found in the pond near the crime scene. So at 14 years old, Aiden Fucci was officially charged with Tristyn's murder.
I wonder what his reaction was then. Hopefully it was, oh crap, what did I do?
I doubt it. Some kids think they're invincible and nothing is ever going to happen to them, no matter how delinquent they are.
The whole action reaction consequences.
Yep. When Tristyn's body was autopsied, the atrocity of what happened to her that night came to light. There were 114 stab and cutting wounds, including 35 stabs just in the head and neck. But she had definitely fought her killer, and that was evidenced by 49 defensive wounds on her shoulders, arms, hands, torso, and her chest. There was no evidence of a sexual attack. Obviously, the medical examiner ruled her death as a homicide due to the extreme amount of multiple sharp force trauma injuries. And during the autopsy, even more evidence was gathered. Aiden Fucci's DNA was found all over her body and clothing. You know, what possesses people, especially at such a young age?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't even know how somebody could stomach doing that mentally.
Yeah, you got to be way out there. Fortunately, Fucci had other friends that were of a far better caliber than his twin jerk flame in the cop car. Two of those friends provided sworn testimony that they saw on multiple occasions a Buck brand folding knife that Fucci was known to carry. Both witnesses said that he would often brag about how he wanted to kill someone by stabbing them and splitting their throat open. Okay, so why in the hell is a 14-year-old walking around with a buck knife every day? I mean, I get that boys like knives, but common sense tells you that's not part of your school uniform, right? Mom, Dad, y'all don't know this is happening?
I get giving kids their privacy and letting them be who they are, but this is a pivotal age that they need to be aware of what their children are doing.
Absolutely. These kids are not children and they're not adults. They need some guidance at this point.
And some discipline and some boundaries, etc.
You know, I told my kids, I'm not trying to be your friend. If I'm trying to be your friend, I'm not doing my job as your mother. And they knew that.
Exactly.
Additionally, one of the witnesses also said that he had a conversation with Fucci wherein Fucci excitedly told him that he was ready to kill someone and it was going to happen soon. In fact, it was going to happen that very month. He couldn't wait any longer. He was planning to find some random person walking alone at night, then he'd drag them into the woods and stab them to death.
And nobody reported this to anybody?
Nope. And he
Wow.
obviously didn't even do it this way. He lured Tristyn out of her home and decided to kill somebody he actually knew.
They were friends.
Yeah.
Wow. What a friend.
In a twist, Crystal Smith, Aiden Fucci's mother, was also arrested on June 5th, 2021, less than a month after Tristyn's murder. Crystal apparently had installed cameras inside her house. When police look through the video, they clearly see her in the background of one of the messiest playrooms I've ever seen in my life. There's not even room to walk in there. It's that bad. There's definitely some neglectful parenting going on here, because that's a straight up fire hazard. And I'm sorry to get distracted by saying all this, but it just had to be said.
And you said playroom. That I didn't get. What's the playroom?
It's just a room filled with toys.
For a 14-year-old boy?
No, they must have had other children.
Okay.
So Crystal is in the background, and you can see that on May 9th, the same day of the murder, 2021, at 12:57 p.m., while her son was at the police station being interviewed, because it's the same day of the killing, and yes, still Mother's Day. She goes into Aiden's room, grabs some clothing, looks at it, and starts trying to clean it in the sink. So now mom is trying to get the blood out of her son's clothing, and it's caught on her own home video. So how many moms are still cleaning clothes in the sink? None that I know, especially not the neglectful ones. She was obviously trying to get away with something sneaky here.
And she didn't think to look at the cameras or turn the cameras off, I should say?
Guess not.
And I wonder if that was a realization to her at that point that maybe she should have kept a closer eye on her son.
Maybe, yeah. Now I'm curious to know. I didn't get the timing on this. I mean, I said what time this was videotaped, but now I realize that this happened before they went down to the police station. Because by the time the parents go to the police station, Tristyn's body has already been found, which was later that evening. So Mom did this before going to the police station.
So she knew, that's why she was so unnerved.
There we go. I literally just put that together right now.
Makes sense.
So that same clothing is picked up and later tested along with the sink area she was using, and they find more blood and DNA belonging to Tristyn. Mom is now charged with tampering with evidence, and Crystal was released on $25,000 bail and now has to face her own court date. Okay, so I'm trying to see this as a mom, and if I saw blood on my kids' clothes, what would I do? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But what I wouldn't do is immediately start to hand wash bloody clothes. Because I think as a mother, I'd be looking for some other viable explanation for bloodstains. And I would have waited to speak to my son and said, hey, what the hell is this? Because think about it. With 114 traumatic stab wounds to the head, neck, and torso, there had to be a lot of blood. And maybe even hair and organ tissue. I mean, wouldn't you need your kid to tell you something, anything that would take you out of the darkest corner mindset? I would.
I would too. And you're right. If we've learned anything from doing these podcasts, after 114 stab wounds, there would be something other than blood on those clothes. She should be held somewhat responsible for the accessory after the fact, since she had to have seen some of that. You're right, hair or anything.
I mean, he focused on her upper body. So yeah, there had to be stuff.
Yeah.
Not trying to be too graphic, but I'm just saying she had to know.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, Fucci is in court and facing his own case. The judge explains to him that he has been charged with first-degree premeditated murder, which is a capital felony punishable by life imprisonment or death. But because at this time, Fucci is still only 14 years old, he is not eligible for the death penalty. But due to the gravity of his vicious and premeditated attack, which included an excessive 114 stab wounds, and 49 of those stab wounds were defensive wounds, reiterating that Tristyn had fought desperately for her life. These facts made him eligible to be tried as an adult. And that's right. You want to act like a grown-up stone-cold killer? You should absolutely be treated like one, because you earned it.
Bam! Where's your Snapchat now?
Right? Not so cute anymore.
No.
During a meeting via Zoom with all the parties involved in his case, an incarcerated Fucci is shown behaving very erratically during that video call. He's rocking back and forth, he's babbling to himself, and he's asking, looking up in the air, what's going on? Why am I here? He's looking all over the place, up, down, all around, as if he has no idea where he's at. Obviously, he could be faking it and trying to play crazy, but this dude really did look high as a kite.
You're describing it was thinking he was faking it.
I thought that at first too, but then I kind of thought maybe he wasn't. Brand new to jail and like he's not already in enough trouble, let's do some drugs too. Sounds like a great idea. But you know, when people pile stupid on top of stupid, it reminds me of a sign I read that said, I only got 99 problems and 420 solutions.
Of course.
Hilarious, right?
Yes.
But probably not as funny when you're a kid facing a murder charge. Ultimately, he was deemed competent to stand trial. In February 2023, just before jury selection began, Aiden Fucci decided to change his plea to guilty as charged in order to avoid a murder trial. Fucci did this knowing that his punishment would be anywhere from 40 years to life in prison. And obviously, he's hoping for the 40 years. So because he pled guilty, his trial now becomes a penalty hearing. And this leaves the sentencing solely up to the presiding judge. But witnesses are still called to provide testimony that will weigh in on his sentencing.
You know, I know we've talked about how tough a job a defense attorney has or does, but Can you imagine being the judge and handing down a sentence?
In a case like this, I would absolutely love that kind of power. I'd make sure that the killers get exactly what they deserve.
Yeah, it is kind of power ensuing.
It's not about me having the power. It's about the power to give justice.
Right, right. That's what I meant, not what I said, but what I meant.
Now, this part of the story is actually why I wanted to bring this horrible and senseless crime to light. Like I said at the beginning, my heartstrings were totally tugged on. And when I saw some of these witnesses testify, and not just the testimony for the victim, but there was heartbreaking emotion on both sides. Because not one, but two children's lives are ultimately lost here. So let's go through some of the testimony given in March of 2023 that had a huge impact in court.
So this is where I need my box of Kleenex?
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of Fucci's teachers testified regarding his behavior in school. One teacher claimed that he was a decent kid and never showed any sign of aggression or violence. But then another teacher came in and said that he was a very disrespectful student and that he had a temper. He had also been suspended a couple of times because he had a real problem with authority and feeling disrespected. Disrespected? How in the heck does a 14-year-old punk kid think he's entitled to respect, especially when he's not giving it in return? Respect is earned, my friend. And you know what? The fact that he had no clue about how respect works, that's definitely a parenting issue. I'm not trying to blame his parents for all his actions, but it seems like there's a lot of entitlement here. And that all starts at home.
Does he even know what respect means?
Obviously not.
Ridiculous.
One of the more tearful testimonies was not against Fucci, but was actually on his behalf. When his grandmother testified, she was very emotional, passionately pleading with the court, saying, quote, "Please don't take him out of our lives forever," end quote. She said she doesn't even know this side of Aiden because he was always a good boy. It was very heartbreaking. You could tell that this was killing her. Seeing his grandmother testify was also the only time Aiden showed any type of emotion by bowing his head and wiping away tears.
Aw, he made Nana sad.
Well, before you get all soft on Fucci, because he loves his grandma, let me also say that the only other time he even showed any interest at all in what was happening in the courtroom was when they were showing pictures of his brutal attack on Tristyn, and when they were describing in great detail exactly what he had done to her. But there was not a single tear shed nor any sign of remorse for that.
Wow.
Many of Tristyn's family members delivered statements as well, but these are some of the more heart-wrenching ones that I wanted to highlight. Tristyn's older sister, Alexis, included a very powerful, poignant visual by putting an empty glass jar on the stand. Then one by one, she began dropping heart-shaped, aqua-colored glass stones into it. It took a while, and each stone made a deafening, clunking sound. After the stones had been dropped, she announced, quote, "This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the stab wounds that my sister had to endure," end quote. Then she paused, looked directly at Fucci, and asked, quote, "Did she see you coming at her with the knife, or did you stab her when she wasn't paying attention? Did she scream out for help, or was she paralyzed with agony? Did she cry for my mother? Did she beg you to stop? Did you hear her lungs gargling with blood, or did you see it in her face when she realized she could no longer breathe due to her collapsed lungs? What were her last words? Did you stay to watch her die, or did you leave her there in agonizing pain as you ran away? How long did she suffer? Did you watch the life leave her eyes? Do you know the answer to any of these questions? Or were you too caught up in the thrill of the kill? End quote. This may not sound appropriate, but I almost wanted to applaud her bravery and her direct jabs. She didn't hold back and just went after this narcissistic, knife-wielding murderer with just as sharp of a weapon, her tongue. I was so proud of her.
That was so incredible. Her motives were on point. When you talked about every time she dropped a stone, I literally could hear that in my ears.
Yeah. Tristyn's best friend, 15-year-old Gia Bauer, now mind you, she's 15 years old, also testified. I condensed some of it down, but she said, quote, Tristyn Bailey was my best friend. She's the person I called when I had a bad day or had something exciting to share. Tristyn was born in Singapore, and since I'm from Korea, we bonded over being Asian sisters. We took care of hairless cats all summer and made TikToks. We loved to listen to music, and we shared the love of cheer. We traveled together and had countless sleepovers, and when we were not able to sleep at each other's homes, we would FaceTime all night and have virtual sleepovers. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's adorable. Her family called me their bonus child. She's also the one who gave me my first concussion doing unauthorized cheer stunts. I talked to Tristyn every day. We had a connection that cannot be explained. She was my person, and Aiden Fucci took her from me. Since May 9th, 2021, I have carried a silence that never goes away. I have been lost. There's not one part that has been sad, but all of me. I no longer have my best friend. She won't be able to experience life. We won't be able to go to dances together. We won't be able to be bridesmaids at each other's weddings, and we won't be able to experience having children together. Initially, it was a surreal feeling, and I could not believe she was no longer here. The person that I needed to get through such a tragedy with was not here. I would think about texting her for comfort and remember I would never receive any words back from her. Losing Tristyn has changed the way I see the world. I once believed people were good and that the world was a happy and safe place. Now I struggle to see the good in the world. A sense of security has been taken. I no longer trust the way I once did, and a sense of joy is missing. I fight not to be a negative or bitter person. I used to love cheer, and now without her here, it will never be the same. I changed my Starbucks order because I could not bear to get the double chocolate chip frappuccino we used to drink together. I used to be known as Tristyn's best friend, and now my identity has changed. It's hard to be in public because people will come up to me and want to talk to me about tea. It is always with kindness, and people have the best intentions, but for me, it's just another reminder that she is no longer here and she never will be. Aiden, you ruined so many lives. You took away my beautiful and loving friend. She is never coming back, and the pain you caused so many will last the rest of our lives. You still get to live. She doesn't.
Wow, that's very heartfelt and articulate for a teenager. And that's just teenage girls being teenage girls as it should be, and actually should continue to be with those two.
It should have, but like she said, it's changed her forever, and it was just so sad.
Wow.
Then Gia added to the glass jar filled with aqua stones and said, quote, this white stone represents my innocence, which died the day Aiden Fucci chose to murder my best friend, end quote. And wow, that rocked my world.
Dang, these girls are really going after him. Did he show any emotion during any of this that you know of?
None at all. None. I mean, I'm ready to cry right now just reading that, and none at all.
Wow.
But the most powerful statement was yet to come. Tristyn's mother, Stacy Bailey. Stacy said, quote, "You have taken away my baby girl, my past, my present, my future, by your calculated, vile action. You have taken this all away from us. I will never understand the heinous choice you made that day, or why my kind daughter is the one that you chose. I will spend the rest of my life grieving our beautiful daughter, wanting to hear her voice and hold her in my arms. Aiden Fucci, your deplorable actions are unforgivable. I will pray every day that you stay in prison for the rest of your life and will never be able to harm anyone else in this world again. Your Honor, I plead with you. Please consider everything that he has done to our daughter and to our family. It is he who made that heinous decision on May 9th, 2021, and he took the very life that I brought into this world. Please do not for 1 second think that he could be rehabilitated at any point. He is beyond saving. He should have to pay for his crime against my daughter. Justice is an empty word for our family, as it could never bring Tristyn back. But justice is for society, and he should have life without parole. Thank you for everything that you've done in this case, and I know that you have a really hard choice in front of you. I'm going to be placing 2 rocks. This white stone is for her sister Sophia, who will never have the opportunity to be a big sister again. You stole that from her. This last one is for me, and it represents everything that you have stolen from me. My worth, my joy, my hope, my future, and my beautiful daughter."
I really have no idea how she could get through that. I mean, this is like
Oh,
holding back tears time.
I'm barely getting through it. It was emotional. It was emotional, but man, the words are like knives themselves. It's incredible.
And if only they could get through.
They're not getting through to him. I think this is more for them than anybody else. But, they have to express their feelings and emotions. It's got to come out somehow.
Absolutely.
Tristyn's father, Forrest Bailey, also testified, quote, "To Mr. Fucci, February 6th, you finally admitted to your guilt of murdering my daughter Tristyn after you clearly sat in this room and agreed to all the questions and statements that were read by the judge and admitted that you knew what you were pleading to. At the end of that, you turned around or you didn't even turn around. You made an apology. I want to be clear, saying that your insincere apology is not accepted. In no part did I sense any glimmer of any true remorse felt in your apology. Without question, I know that statement was for some self-serving purpose that you have. During all of the proceedings in which we have been present, including these past couple days, at no point in time have I seen anything from you that has been any type of remorse. I loathe your very existence, and I know that there is nothing in you that reflects the smallest amount of goodness or human decency." End quote.
Man, listening to all these statements, I would have been somewhere between bawling and wanting to take that jar full of stones and just throw them at Fucci.
But
That
I like how the father didn't talk to him like a kid. He talked to him like a man, and that just made it so much more dynamic and impactful.
it was impactful, no matter how I was talking to him.
Then Judge R. Lee Smith sentenced now 16-year-old Aiden Fucci to life in Suwannee Correctional Institution for the vicious, premeditated murder of Tristyn Bailey.
Where he should be for the rest of his life.
Hopefully.
It just pulls at your heartstrings.
This one was tough. I mean, the crime itself was unspeakable, and these testimonies just brought it all to light, and truly how sad it all is, because her dad saying he loathes his existence was like, wow. But he's a kid too, and he threw his entire life away. His choice. I don't feel bad for him, but he threw his entire life away as well.
Exactly. Did his parents say anything during all of this?
I didn't see his parents speak at all.
I mean, what do you say, I guess?
What do you say? There's nothing you can say.
Well, thank you for bringing this very sad story.
It was very sad. I knew. That's why I kind of prepped you guys. It's like, okay, it's going to be a sad one. But you know what? I know the testimonies were long, but I just really felt like those words needed to be heard. It was very important to understand how the victims are impacted by one life.
I totally felt it. We'd like to thank you for listening. And don't forget to take care and remember to let your grimaginations run wild. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
We would just like to thank you all for sharing your time with us. And if you'd like to send us your creepy little grim bits, we would love to hear your personal stories, interests, and suggestions. Please email them to grimwitwithdimwits@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @grimwitwithdimwits, X @grimwitwithdimwits, and Facebook grimwitwithdimwits. And please join us every Monday for new episodes, and feel free to share us with your grim-loving friends.
And we would really appreciate if you would take a minute to rate and review. 5-star ratings go a long way, and they would really help us out. Until then, we would love it if you'd come back next week to delve with us into the strange and unusual things we just can't wrap our skulls around.